Okay, so my final question is, what lessons and challenges can be learned from the current coronavirus crisis? And what does the future hold for national and international food? And how can we redesign the food system to be more healthy, sustainable and resilient?
So yes, this has been a wake-up call. Even with Brexit, I was warning people, who's going to pick the strawberries? 2 or 3 years ago, in 2016, and afterwards, I was calling out the fact that, under a hard Brexit, food prices would go up. There would be tariffs on imports. We are very food import dependent, and food would cost people more, particularly meat and fruit and other produce that we import, and there would be supply bottlenecks. Secondly, the supply of labour. Britain's farms, and we're not unusual in this. Across Europe, farmers have increasingly relied on migrant labour. I mean, when I was a boy, I used to go out in the fields and pick crops. That's increasingly not the case. Now there's been a big call in the wake of COVID for a land army of British workers, which will be students and the unemployed and so forth, to come in and pick crops at the key season, the hungry season that's coming up now, where we need strawberry and asparagus and other pickers. But that's only going to be a temporary fix. If we hadn't scared away so many Eastern Europeans during Brexit, which now can't come to Britain as a result of the lockdown, then we probably wouldn't be in the situation that we are now. But I think to some extent, people took a lot of things for granted. They took for granted that we could rely on large annual supplies of seasonal labour to come in and pick these crops, that it wasn't really our problem, that if everything went belly up, we could simply import more food from other countries. Well, the current crisis has exposed the vulnerability and the short-term kind of thinking behind that. So we really need to make our food supply much more resilient. And now, even before this, I was involved and still am in something called the National Food Strategy. And to be fair to Michael Gove, when he was Farm Minister, when he was in charge of the environmental portfolio, he did have some blue skies thinking about environmental impacts of British farming and trying to make the supply chains more sustainable. And the National Food Strategy was set up by Henry Dimbleby of Leon Foods, and it was supposed to report back this summer on progress on making our supply chains more resilient and more sustainable, and growing more food on our own land instead of turning allotments into blocks of flats. And that hasn't happened yet. I suspect it will be delayed. But even so, I'm hopeful that out of all this crisis, there may eventually come sort of some sense of sanity and putting food security back on the top of the national and international agenda. Because, if this crisis has exposed anything else on healthcare, food, two basic areas which we've traditionally taken for granted, we've sort of really rested on our laurels far too more strategically about where our food comes from, how we supply it, and a domestic food supply picked at sustainable wages by local people, as well as people coming in from other countries in the EU.
Hi, Kevin. We'll leave it there. Thanks for your time. Thank you.